volví a encontrar. Soy así, ya es muy tarde para cambiar. Yo no espero nada, vivo sin rumbo. Solo quiero amar cada segundo. Soy aquel.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would love to welcome Katische Haberfield, channels Archangel Zadkiel, and is a past life regression therapist, medium, ghost rescue medium, author, poet, and student of understanding the soul. She developed the happiest moments of my soul sessions after discussion with Archangel Zadkiel, who instructed her that finding small moments of happiness was imperative for human beings at this time in our development. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, and welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Lena, for having me. I'm really honored.
So first off, I think it's really awesome that you're in Australia. I attract a lot of people from Australia, so this connection is by no coincidence. And I find that a lot of Aussies are really spiritual. So I mean, just really thank you so much for taking the time and the distance. And I know you're in the future. It's tomorrow for you, tomorrow morning. So good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning to you too.
Thank you. Oh, it's afternoon. Actually, it's
afternoon. Well, good morning from the future, you know.
Yeah, good morning from the future. That's excellent. So you have quite a bit of history here, really important things that are incongruent with people that are looking into becoming the better version of themselves, and spiritually, and also in turn physically. Because when you can turn happiness from the inside, it also comes out on the outside. But I'm really interested to know what brought you to your current journey to where you are at today.
Well, it's a little bit like you in a way, because I started off as a management consultant and a university lecturer.
Oh, wow.
So that's not on the spiritual path at all. But I kept being blocked. I felt like nothing was going my way. And unlike you, it wasn't in the physical sense. I didn't encounter hereditary issues, and I didn't encounter physical blocks. Oh. Are you still there?
I'm still here. Yeah, we paused a little bit.
Yeah, we did pause. I wonder what's going on there. Anyway, shall I keep going? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Keep going.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my journey was about understanding why I wasn't going in a traditional career path, because I went straight out of school, did university, and then I did a master's straight away. So I did my bachelor's degree, and then I did a master's in marketing. And I also started teaching, and I thought my career path was set. But everything didn't fall into place, and I didn't make any progress, and my constant emotion was frustration. So I was always
what you mean, Katische? I'm sorry. Is that what you mean, that you weren't making progress because you were feeling frustration?
Yes. I wasn't going down the path of a traditional academic career. I wasn't enjoying working as a management consultant. So I kept hitting these roadblocks, so to speak, with my career. And so I was wise enough to say, all right, if it's not working, keep following your curiosity. I just always knew follow your curiosity.
I love that. If it's not working, follow your curiosity. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I also then got married and had 2 small children, and I felt very specific about I need to get married, and I need to have, like, there was this real urge that's not just a maternal female urge, but it was this, I must marry this person and we must have children and they must be boys. I don't know why, and that's what came out. We got married and I had 2 children. And the marriage also self-combusted very quickly, and I was devastated because I am not somebody who makes light commitments, and I wanted to be married. I wanted to be a mother. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And so I went to Buddhism, was my answer. And I spent a lot of time retreat in a Buddhist monastery that we have here in Queensland, in the state that I live in the Sunshine Coast. And that's where I had my first realization that I had a past life connection with a Buddhist very senior Buddhist figure, so the Geshe. So I was in a meditation for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's no longer in this world. And we were doing the medicine Buddha puja because he was very ill at that time. He was manifesting the signs of a stroke. And so I was sitting there in the Gompa with all the nuns and the monks, and he was leading the Geshe was leading the medicine puja for the Dr. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who was in Tibet or somewhere else over there at that particular time. I don't know his exact physical location. He was in a medical facility. And I started crying uncontrollably, just like wailing. And I could not stop. Like, this is a silent thing, except for, it's very serious. You're saying all the mantras, and I'm just like uncontrollably shaking, uncontrollably crying. I start rocking back and forth, and I'm like, I don't know how to stop this. Somebody help me. This is not appropriate. I don't know what's going on here. And anyway, I just kept allowing the emotions to come out. And at this end of the session, the nuns came over to me and said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." And they said, "Well, what were you experiencing?" And I said, "All I can tell you is I felt this pain, and I felt like, oh, mother, help me, I am suffering." And they just looked at me and they said, "Wow, that's incredible. You have a past life connection with the Geshe." And I was like, okay, radio. That wasn't expected. And so from there, they said, as much as you can, spend some time around the Geshe. And I had 2 small children, and it wasn't possible, so I didn't. But that's when I actually, where I have my own podcast, and I started my journey of podcasting with explaining to people how that story got me into past life regression, because from that moment on, I learned about the principles of karma. I learned about reincarnation. I learned about how our mind has clues. Basically, it's this eternal filing cabinet of everything that we've done.
Oh, yeah.
Our behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. And that sometimes the things that are happening to us in this lifetime have a direct correlation to other lifetimes. And so I began to explore the things that were happening to me in this lifetime that didn't seem to feel right, that were causing me frustration, because when we are frustrated, we're not in alignment with what our higher self wants us to do. Right. And so I was like, so the answers possibly aren't in this life. I have to go back into my past lives. How do I do that? And I started researching that. I started working with a Akashic Records practitioner. And I then loved that so much that I started studying and training in hypnotherapy and past life regression therapy. And that just sort of, boom, exploded my world, because it opened up all of my senses, and things started to make me understand the basis for and why I was experiencing fear, why I was not experiencing joy, why my relationship with my husband broke up. Spoiler, it was a past life karmic situation that we had to resolve. And yes, we've resolved that. So tick.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a whole bunch of things that all sort of like just exploded all at once. And it was just like life said, you need to do the spiritual path, honey. I know you did that academic stuff and geez, you loved it, but not going that way.
That's really incredible. So it was basically in the monastery when you were doing the medicine Buddha puja that you came into alignment with some emotions that were really heavily weighing you at the moment and you had no control over. And that was when some of the nuns came in to tell you that you had a past life connection with the Geshe. And so how did they determine that at that moment?
From the fact that I said, "Oh, mother, I am suffering." And the Buddhist nuns and monks are very clued on. They know with their senses, their extrasensory perceptions, they know straight away. I guess when you go to an intensive monastery like that, people go there for a reason, and they are there to heal emotions, but also they're there to be in the room with people that they've actually experienced other lifetimes before. And I was brought up Christian, so I was surprised to be in a Buddhist monastery. But I was having troubles within the Christian framework because my relationship was imploding and I couldn't find the help that I needed. I felt judged. And so when I went to the Buddhist monastery, I felt supported. I understood that there need not be the level of guilt that I had for my marriage imploding, that the Buddhists believe that we are brought together due to energy. And when that energy is complete, they're like, no worries. The karmic energy is now complete. You've done what you came for. Please don't suffer. Be pleased that it happened, that you worked through that karma. You've now healed those emotions, you know, to an extent. And you can move forward with your life. And that gave me some self-compassion towards myself, because I ultimately determined to exit that relationship. And, you know, it's hard to leave a marriage. It's really hard. Nobody does it lightly, whether you're on either side. It causes great emotions to rise. But when you can work through it and understand your role in it and why you're brought together, you know, he's not on that spiritual path. And that's on purpose as well, because sometimes you need to have somebody in your life who's not on the spiritual path to catalyze you forward into the spiritual path. So your souls are working together to say, do you know what? You guys have gone around the circle so many times. It's time you guys got your stuff together and did this once and for all. And let's not keep repeating those patterns, because they're in your mind, but it's also affecting your energy field. And each time you guys get together, you're still locked in this energy field of negativity. So let's work through that, realize that you don't need to stay together or be together this time. You can be aware that you're different people in this lifetime. You came to bring in 2 specific children for this lifetime based on your wishes in another lifetime, which I've now identified. And you've done your job. Well done. Now learn to be in the present moment with each other and understand and accept that you are 2 totally different people. You're going to trigger each other for the rest of life. But if you can work through that and wish each other the best, then you will be able to move on. And he moved on and married a really lovely lady. I really like her. And he's so much happier with her than me. And I'm just like, thank goodness I stepped out of the way, because his world is a bubble of happiness and I can be allowed to go on my journey, which we couldn't have done together.
Right. Well, that's a really incredible, beautiful way to look at it, and how empowering for the both of you too to also feel the harmonic resonance that now resides with him being out of the relationship, and you being able to commingle with him and raise children, despite the indifferences that you had before.
Yeah, it's a powerful catalyst and a powerful learning, and I'm still learning. We still learn in every interaction. Yeah.
So, thanks for sharing that incredible story. And so when you were having the spiritual awakenings, I'm just gonna say it this way, you were having this awakening or this enlightenment or this awareness where you are now to be put forth on a spiritual path, and by doing that you delve into past life regression and hypnotherapy, and you receive training for this, correct?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When you received training for the past life therapy, did you go a little deeper into your own past lives before you actually started? You went a little deeper into that? And
Yeah,
how
I've
did
done
you do
like,
this, Katish? How do you do this yourself, your own meditation, or does somebody help you through the imagery?
yeah, so I did work with an Akashic Records practitioner. So she wasn't trained in the modality that I work professionally in, but my mind said, I scoured the internet for who to work with. You know, I read everything on anything. You know, I read all the books on everything. Once I get sucked into a topic, I'm like, everything, give me everything. And so I knew all the different practitioners, and every time I would go to book a session with somebody else, I couldn't go through with it. And then when I met her through a common group, I was like, that's her, and I need to work with her. And she's the only one I'm authorized to work with. I had this really strong feeling, must be her. And we discovered through my sessions that we have many, many, many past lives together. And so we have this bond between us that it's called same self soul healing. So we do sessions together, because we can automatically, because we've worked, I think I've done at least 20 or maybe nearly 30 past life sessions now.
Wow.
We can now talk and spontaneously, because we've developed all of our clairs so strongly, we can now spontaneously see and have a conversation that will arise a past life that needs to be healed between us, or she can see something straight away. And we'll either go into a session or we can heal it through a conversation. So it's a really strong bond. And so she was provided to me for a reason as well.
Sure.
So you can see that in my lifetime, when I follow the dots and the curiosity, and I trust that sense of not this person, no, this person, that there's a reason for it. And all of that is teaching me about the soul in my personal life, that can then help me when I am doing my own sessions, because I've been there. I've got that lived experience, as I think you in psychiatry and mental health talk about a lived experience. And so I have a lived experience. I've done the work in the past life regressions, Akashic records. I know the fear, and I know the emotions that people are going through, and I understand why things seem irrational, and why we are faced with things in our life that we have to change course correct, and re-examine the way that we think, because it re-examines and shifts our energy fields and our reality.
It really does. And then and not only that, but I think that the tricky part about that is really trusting the direction.
Oh, and it brings up fear. Like your book's called
Yeah.
A Little Less Fear, and fear has been the predominant emotion while I've been going through this, because it's frightening sometimes to understand that you are who you are right now. So I'm Katish, but I've been so many different people. And when you discover past lives, then the reason that they're brought forward for you is because they haven't been healed. There's something lingering there. And to go into that healing, you do need a level of bravery, because you're going through the fear to come out the other side. And so you may come up with anger, sadness, guilt, shame, remorse, all of the negative a spectrum of the emotions. And on the other side of that is neutrality, because it's understanding. And part of the journey is to go, so I was this person. They did a shitty thing. Guess what? We all do at some stage.
Sure.
Stop judging yourself. You did the best you can, and learn that part of your soul, your avatar, has got some wisdom in there as well. So you have to go through the fear to get to the wisdom. And depending upon how heavy that incarnation was for you, there might be a lot of fear that you have to go through to bring back the wisdom in layers, like an onion. So it's been fascinating to see who I've been and how that directs me in this lifetime, how I share similar characteristics, similar interests with other incarnations. But it can get quite heavy, which is where I started to learn to work with the angels, because they're trying to bring me through to be joy, happiness, and peace, and to bring humanity forward to radiate the way that we're supposed to. But the thing is, we can't be automatically joyful, peaceful, and happiness if we're still holding on to all this stuff from these other lifetimes. So it's like being a living, breathing alchemist. And the angels want people to understand that, yes, you have to do both, but you can't be just focusing on the negative. You have to go to the joy and happiness as well, so that you don't stay stuck in one set of emotions and one set of energy.
You know, I'm curious to know, and I'm just thinking this as you're telling me this. So a lot of people, including myself, have done past life regression therapy on myself to find things that are challenging me in this life. I wonder, and I can try this myself, but have you had the opportunity to go into a past life to see why something brings you so much joy?
Yes, and that's what I work
Wow,
with.
I love this.
Yeah. I have a series of sessions called the Happiest Moments of My Soul.
Whoa.
And that's what Archangel Zadkiel and I are working on and have worked on. And they're on my podcast I have clients that do private sessions, and then I have soul contracts with people who are in my soul family, who come in and they step in, and I'm here to teach as well. And so they allow me to use those sessions on the podcast, and we film it from beginning to end. And
That's
they try and
incredible.
describe, Yeah, they sign disclaimers and they just open up their soul for us to learn from. But the happiest moments of my soul session is where the angels take over. So it's not a traditional past life regression therapy session. We go in with a regression and a meditation and a calming, but I use a Koshi chime because I was trained in sound healing as well. And I use aromatherapy because I was trained in aromatherapy as well. And so the sound waves, to relax them, vibrate the energy of rosemary for remembrance, and clary sage for opening up insight and intuition, and that helps relax them. And then they visualize and they see the angels who take them up into the light. And then the various avatars of their soul, so who they've been in other lifetimes, say, okay, with the permission of the higher self, we are going to take you to, because the intention set, examples of the happiest moments of your soul. And so when we say the happiest moments of your soul has lived on Earth, your soul has lived on other planets, in other galaxies, in other dimensions, and other frequencies. So I've had the great honor and privilege to bend my mind and see, when we're not doing a therapy session, but we're focusing on happiness instead, what is a soul's definition of joy, peace, and happiness?
Love
and
this.
how does it reflect in their everyday life? How are there synchronicities? So they have been amazing, and I've done them for myself as well. My friend who does the Akashic Records, I gave her my script, and she works with the angels as well. So they helped her to do my own sessions, and my own sessions are on the podcast. And so it was fascinating to see, where can the soul take us to show us who we've been and why it brought us happiness in that lifetime. Why is it so important for us to understand and revisit that lifetime, not to heal trauma, but to bring through the vibration of joy and happiness?
Katisha, I love this. Well, tell us about your podcast, because I have to listen to some of these and I have to try some of these for myself.
Yeah, so it's called The Infinite Life with Katische Haberfield.
Oh my goodness. I love this. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. It's just, as you were saying all this, I guess maybe I'm just feeling into your energy. I was just really wondering about the joyful part of it, which is really incredible. I can imagine that people get a lot more clarity and a lot more direction into their current life once they experience this eternal, infinite part of their soul that's got joy and motivation locked into their karmic lives, past lives, and bringing that forward as a reminder to their life and to present its soul with vital energy to just continue the current life at your utmost, highest, greater good based on your soul's experience.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I can give you some examples if you'd like to hear some stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that I have been learning to do is to accept, one of my favorite TV movies when I was a little girl was, E.T., with Drew Barrymore.
I love E.T.
Yeah, I love Drew Barrymore. And so I've been drawn to her my whole life. But the way that the media portrays extraterrestrial beings, so-called, as aliens, do you know what I mean? As external entities that are scary. They're coming to get you. They're dripping. They've got fangs, and there's nothing nice about them. So when you grow up with all those movies, aliens with Sigourney Weaver and everything possible, you've seen every nasty version of things that can scare you. When you're confronting the fact that your soul has happy moments and they might be on other planets, it can be a bit of fear coming up. Oh, what am I going to see myself as? Help.
Right.
I'm scared of that. And so this is the funny part, is in my first session when I was doing my happiest moment of my soul. So not only do I work with Archangel Zadkiel, but I work with Archangel Michael. And Archangel Michael was trying to tell me, on the other side of your fear of living in other places and being called an alien is some of the most incredible joy you will find. And so he tried in the first session to take me up onto a spaceship to show me how to move my mind into another dimension. And he dressed himself up in a suit, because when I see Archangel Michael, I see him kind of like you, but imagine a black three-piece suit and a top hat, and he's wearing tails. And he tap dances. And my clients see him in sessions, and they will send messages to me from Archangel Michael. Oh, by the way, Archangel Michael just tipped his hat and he's got something to say to you that'll make you laugh. And I was blown away. But anyway, in this scene, we're walking up this, and I'm dressed in a bride's gown. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I need you to come up here into this ship, and then we will take you into the next moment. And all of a sudden, his head turned into a lion, and mine turned into a lion, and I bit his head off.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly they just started laughing, and they're like, okay, we're not ready to see that yet. We'll go to another happiest moment. You've got some fear there. We'll work through that in your private life, but it's not ready for this session. So the next time, in the second session when I came up, this time I was fine, straight in. And I went into this amazing lifetime, which, again, my fear came around about this lion being. And so I saw this being as an elephant instead of a lion first. But it was actually a lion. And in this lifetime, I went straight into a cave where I lived, and it was just literally all crystals. So I lived in this cave of crystals. Wow. It was amazing. And the crystals weren't, like flat, they were sharp. So I had slippers on so they wouldn't be too sharp. And I was dressed in, like, again, a 3-piece suit. And I had a briefcase, and I quickly went in and had a look around this beautiful room. And then I was taken. I love reading fantasy fiction as well. So I read the Morrigan Crow books, and in it she has one of her character who catches to school, spiritual school, a elevator, like a chairlift with an umbrella. And literally in this scene, I caught this chairlift with an umbrella, and I went straight into this special, it was like underneath a lake, and I went straight into a university kind of like environment. And I stood up at the front of the lecture hall, and I'm watching myself thinking, what am I doing here? And why there's so many people? Because it felt a bit like, do you know in Star Wars where Padme comes in and she delivers her message and her little pod comes into the front? So it's like going into a federation, but I can't see any of the people's faces. They're sort of like blocked out on purpose. They're like in shadows disguise. Almost, just they're not negative beings. They're just like it. They said to me, it's not, you don't need to see exactly who they are.
It's not important.
And not important. And I stood up at the lecture theatre as this elephant come lion, and I delivered a lecture, and these people in this room were learning about human beings, and they were learning about emotions, thoughts, behaviors, and fears. And so my job currently in that particular lifetime, in that incarnation, is that I lecture people on humanity, how humans are coping with emotions and karma and reincarnation. And then some of those people may or may not choose to come in as a human being to experience that soul growth. But what was interesting was that I was like, wow, well, that kind of makes sense why I started off being a lecturer, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
And it kind of makes sense as to why I started a podcast to showcase examples of past life, because it's a way of teaching through demonstration rather than here's a lesson and here's what the principles of reincarnation are. And then in my third session, they showed me where I could see myself as the lion, because I was now comfortable, and I'm sitting on a deck chair, basically watching a big screen, and he's watching everything that I do.
Wow, that's
it's like it's a real-time feed of him watching. He's got like a beverage of whatever you drink when you're a lion in this other lifetime, watching, and he's taking notes. So I was like, okay, there must be some kind of soul contract there that says I'm going to experience certain things to be able to demonstrate to these people in these other places the principles of stuff. And well, that brings me happiness, but some of it is too extreme. So I'm going to modify that contract. And so I've been able to say, okay, have we finished dealing with this content now? Because I've had enough as a human being. I think I've demonstrated that. I think you've got all your teaching principles. I would like to clear that energy out of my aura now. And they're like, yeah, fine, done. So, but that was an example of one of my happiest moments of my soul that I couldn't even imagine. And it relates to the things that I started off doing and I was drawn to originally, but I don't do now, but I do it in a different way, in a nuanced way. So it made me happy to know that I was being of service and that the things that I had gone through were to teach people about situations that they may face when they incarnate, but also to help beings from other locations understand how difficult it is to be a human being.
It really is extremely difficult. I mean, they say that it's one of the most difficult schools, Earth School.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
even
So
to incarnate as a human and to be here is I mean, it's an honor, regardless of the life that we're living. The fact that we even had the opportunity to come to Earth School.
yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's, one of those things that keeps me going when I am facing my own challenges in my own daily life, is knowing that I'm not alone, that I have a whole team supporting me, that I can work through any fear that I'm coming up with as I'm breaking through to the next levels of energy healing and understanding my soul. And to say, well, one of the most powerful things that I do now is that if I'm like woken up in the middle of the night, because like I'm a almost 50-year-old woman now, so I've gone through menopause, and that is its whole set of awakening that coincides with spiritual awakening, and so you get a lot of fear and anxiety with menopause for women, but when I have this dovetailing effect of the physical changes going in my body, the spiritual changes in my body. In the middle of the night, it can be, am I awake because I'm afraid? Am I awake because of my hormones? Am I awake because there's a team trying to get me to get up and do something, like writing a book? And sometimes it can just be, I'm processing pure fear. And so for me, what I do is I say, okay, I'm feeling afraid, guys. I do some breathing, some really deep breathing. I listen to sometimes light language transmissions that I have from practitioners that I have purchased recordings from. And then sometimes it's simply, guardian angel, I need you to wrap your rings around me now. I am in a state of fear. I need some healing. Could you please lie with me? And I feel their energy, and they literally wrap their rings around me and send me back to sleep. And that happened to me last night, for example. So
That's beautiful.
anybody can do that. You can all access in the middle of the night when you're feeling afraid, ask for your guardian angel to wrap their wings around you, and they will calm your nervous system down and give you some healing.
Yeah, you know what always helps me 100% of the time? Let's say I'm having a hard time sleeping. If I ask angels, and I don't even know why or how I came up with this, but I'll call out angels of sleep, angels of rest, come help me rest. I have a busy mind, and within 5 minutes I knock out. It
Yeah,
doesn't fail. It never fails.
yeah, it's great. And most people don't know to work with their angels, and that you can do that they are there in service, and that angels are not a religious concept. Sure, they've been showcased, and there are stories and mythologies that have developed thanks to religion, but they're also not religious. So anybody of any faith or no faith can call on an angel, and you don't have to know their specific name. You don't have to know their healing ray. You just say whatever comes out of your mouth at the time, because that energy connects directly with them, and the angel or archangel that is most resonant with you in that moment will be there immediately.
That's so beautiful. And what about spirit guides? Do you connect with spirit guides as well?
Yeah, so I had a whole bunch of spirit guides that have changed, but so predominantly the people that I work with are Jesus Christ, Buddha Shakyamuni, because they're the people who, in my moments of hardship, I've cried out to in my sleep, and they have come. And then Archangel Michael and Archangel Zadkiel. So traditionally you wouldn't call them spirit guides, but because of the work that I do and what I've chosen to come in, they are the beings that are here for me. And then I have this group called We the Soul, and We the Soul is my soul. And so they are the other incarnations who are in the light, not currently incarnated, who come in to provide assistance at that moment. And so I have some past life people, like I have a past life husband who I call I Kick. And he comes from a planet that's like Mars, but it's not Mars. I thought it was Mars, but he educated me on that yesterday. And what I love about that is when I was in high school, I went to boarding school, and I have one particular friend who called me Kiki, and his name is I Kick, exactly the same, just backwards.
Wow, that's not a coincidence.
That's not a coincidence.
No.
So he's here to help me with relationships. And what I've learned that is spirit guides come and go according to what you're navigating through at that time. But angels and then the ascended masters, or whatever energy you want to call Jesus or Buddha or any of the prophets or any of those people, if you have a soul linkage to them, they will be there immediately for you. So yeah, it's fascinating because it doesn't matter. Whoever you think is the right person.
I absolutely love that. Whoever you think is the right being at that
Being, yeah, but being person, yeah. However your mind says it. So
point.
I see them, as I said, the way that my brain works is I have to personify them.
Sure.
So I don't I create pictures in my mind that has them all dressed up in a like an equivalent of a human form. So that's why I call
Yeah.
them persons. And because I have developed such a strong working relationship with them and me, it's like they're a friend, and it's like talking to you right now. It's that immediate connection, and that's how I know they're here, because I can feel them. And they're happy to work with you in any way, shape, or form that you wish to work with them. It just has to be appropriate to you and your personality. So that's why you can never have an argument or a discussion with someone else and they might say, but I see Archangel Michael this way and he does this, 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 and this. And so you must be seeing him wrong. No, you will work with him and your energy with his energy according to what you need and what resonates with you. So as long as you know how to determine between a fake spiritual entity and a real spiritual entity, then you're fine.
Hmm. I just noticed something right now. I was gonna ask you a question. Throughout our conversation, I haven't heard you mention the word spirit, mostly soul, but now you said spiritual entity. So I was gonna ask you if you felt that there was a difference between spirit energy versus soul energy.
Yes. So and the way to explain this is, so when we die, we are just pure spiritual being. We're just energy, okay? But we belong to a soul. So that energy has a marker that says I belong to this soul. And so we're all just energy. Even archangels are just energy that have different roles and functions according to different locations, dimensions, and frequencies. So when I say spirit, you have to be careful, because you can be contacted with and have uh, energy forms work with you, either for good or bad, that have not risen to the light. And so you have to make sure that the spirit that you're working with is not stuck in the in-between lands. And so I do a lot of work with ghosts, and I've done a lot of work with beings, because I'm a spirit releasement therapist. I have worked with a lot of beings to help retrieve souls from the realms where they are facing persecution from hell beings, satanic beings, demons, all of the shadowy world figures. And so I have had to learn to work with these negative entities in order to get them to release the hold on the spirit, that the human being that needs to go to the light, or the one that is incarnated
Hmm.
with this fear and attachments from other lifetimes. So yeah, that's when I say everything is energy. But you just need to understand in what form that energy is. So I am very specific to call avatars of my soul rather than spirit, because they are working from the light, not from the dark. And if they're from the dark,
I love
I
that.
have learned to be able to ascertain their energy signature so that I can bring them forth with healing and they can go to the light.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, I've had Tina Irwin on my podcast 7 times, and she's a metaphysical author, and she's also a ghost helper. She helps spirits that are stuck in the fourth dimension go into the fifth. And she often talks about that people need to practice due diligence when they're talking about spirit or even playing with tarot cards. So it's really important, like what energy is coming through, where is this energy coming from, and it's your duty and your responsibility to ask who are you are connecting with, because it's a responsibility when you're just connecting. I guess people can be sloppy about it if they're not aware of what they're doing, and just connect with other energies, and in that case can even be a negative energy. So it's really important to really hone in on the type of energy that you're trying to connect with.
Yes, I know Tina very well. I wrote one of the forewords for her current book that just got launched.
Oh
So
yeah, you did, yeah. She's
yeah,
really incredible. Wow, right? Wow.
she's been very, very important in my journey in understanding. But it's also understanding that we have different soul cycles, which means that we have incarnations where we are incarnated as pure beings who are working for advancing humanity and are in the light, and we have wonderful incarnations where we just help and we're, but we also have dark incarnations, and in the dark incarnations it's because we have accumulated so much stuck energy, so much stuck negative thoughts and emotions, that we need to transmute that. But also sometimes we do actually go through a cycle where we're like, bring it on, I want to learn about this darkness because
Yeah.
it helps. And so we also need to understand that if we are having interactions with beings from the dark, that they are reflecting our own energy, and in every dark being there is light, right? And
Sure.
our job is, well, especially in the field of work that I do in spirit releasement therapy, is to listen to all the tripe that they yell at you and how they attack you, and understand how they are resonating with the fear that you are still holding on to. And when you can ask them and work through them, because you can talk with them, you can actually shine the light on them. They then release the wisdom about why they are in your life. And usually it's a message that you ask them to help with. So you ask them to be a teacher on a particular element of a negative emotion in this lifetime. And what they want to go to the light. So they're like, radio, shine the light on me. Let me give you the wisdom. Let me go to the light. Thank you very much. My job is done. And
Katish,
then a
that's
lot,
amazing. Shine the light on the darkness. Shine the light on your shadows.
absolutely. The shadows are there
Because
for a reason.
those shadows are going to bring in some wisdom for you.
Yes, but just it's a fine line, because you cannot always listen to the wisdom from the darkness, because otherwise you end up focusing on the darkness, and you need to be neutral. So you need to be taking a little bit of wisdom from each. But when something that's negative arises, that comes up, you have strong, strong boundaries. You bring in the rescue spirits of light and your ascended masters, your spirit guides, your angels, and you say, right, let's help them shine the light on it, because it's coming up for me to shine my own light. And this is a not something I want to be stuck in for any longer than I need to be. So let's help everybody by allowing me to shine light for both of us, because we live in duality here.
Right.
So let's be realistic. There is good and bad on earth. There is
Sure.
duality. In other dimensions, like the 10th dimension, 11th and 12th dimension, it's all non-duality. So there's only perfection and joyness and peace and bubbly happiness. But if we wanted to be there, we'd be there. But right here, we've chosen to be in a dualistic situation. So we need to learn from it. Otherwise, you never waste. But your soul can go, well, I went back to duality. I had a really big specific task, but I was too afraid to look at the fear. So I didn't go through it. And now I've got to do it again.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. So, what if somebody goes into the darkness to shine some light into that darkness, but is having a difficult time getting out of it?
Yeah, so that's where you come to somebody like me or Tina or Mark Beale, who's my coach and trainer. You go to a very specific therapist who basically, we've all had lived experience with that. We've all been through that. We've all learned how to work with all sorts of entities. We've all had our own attachments. We've all had our own blockages. So we have lived through that and come out on the other side. And we know how to work with those kinds of energy fields. And we have a multitude of different sorts of tools according to where you are in your life and what resonates with you, that we can help you. So you always get professional help in whatever way that professional resonates with you. So you choose the person based on your gut feeling, your intuition, because we all have skills. It's just knowing who's the one that you feel the most compatible with to work with.
That makes sense. Katish, on just from your experience and your knowledge in being in the field and the energetic field that you're currently in, would you say that most diseases. And I'm asking this because I'm curious for myself, being born with a rare genetic disease and having now gone through so much pain and still experiencing remnants of some of that suffering in this life. Is all of it tied to a past life, all of these sufferings, or an incarnation or some type of karma? Or can some of it just be spontaneous in this life?
It's a great question. So there's a multifaceted answer to that. So basically, before you come into a lifetime, you choose your parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, within your genetic heritage, you've got certain illnesses that can manifest according to the body that you choose, the family that you choose, and the decisions that you make. So you may come into a lifetime where you said, I want to work through this, and I know that I'm going to have this because it's going to teach me something, and on the other side is the wisdom. The second thing may be that you come into a body where you have this genetic illness, but you don't experience trauma or stress or anything. So that is not activated. That DNA is not activated. It's like a switch and it doesn't turn on. So you don't
Right.
experience that. Or it may be that you come in and you poison your body, you make poor choices. And that's your free will as a human being to go, right, I was delivered this, I chose this family, this body, and now I have free will on earth. I chose to make these decisions. These decisions were bad for my body, so I have now gone down this path. But then there's one more, which is it can be from past lives. Yes, you have stored up the emotion, and the emotion that is attached to your body hasn't been healed, so it needs to be cleared. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another part. And then the final kicker is that you could have an attachment. So you could have a ghost attached to you who died of a particular illness.
Mm-hmm.
They're attached in your energy field. And
Mm-hmm.
while they are attached to you, that illness resonates in your body. And so we
That
have
makes
to
sense.
remove them and then heal that attachment so that they go to the light. And then you understand why you attracted them in the first place. It could be karmic. You could have had them as a wife or a husband or somebody in a past life. You could have just been walking past a hospital and somebody went, geez, you look like my sister. You look like my third cousin. And I really liked you, so I feel safe with you. I'm going to come with you. You could be a smoker, you could be a drinker. When you smoke or drink, as Tina would have told you, you shred your auric field, and so it's
Yeah.
easier for them to come in. But also, you may be a person of incredible bright light, and your light says to them, and Tina and I have had the same experience where we've heard them say, hey, lady of the light. And they may come towards you, and they may attach to you because you're a safety until you learn your own boundaries. And it hurts like hell, I can tell you that. I had a ghost attached to me in my heart in a cemetery, and oh, it hurt. And I've learned how to make sure that doesn't happen. And
What did you experience?
a physical like pain in my chest. So I knew, and so I called a friend, because at that time I didn't know how to get them off myself, because it was very back in my early days of mediumship skills. And I actually hired a medium to find out what happened. And this particular fella, Dennis, came through and he explained the whole situation. He explained how he saw me, why he hadn't crossed the light, why he attached to me. And he said to me, you look like my wife.
Oh.
And I felt safe. So, and you hadn't learned your boundaries. And so because there was that heart resonance, I wanted to be with you. And so boom, you went to my heart. Yeah, so there's, as I said, sorry, that's a long explanation, but there are a number of different things. And so we can look at many different ways that you can have a look at your energy field. But the most important thing that the archangels want to actually have people realize that if you don't work through your emotions, be it with a psychologist or in a spiritual way or whatever field, a sound healing, a breath work, whatever is your jam, if you don't work with it, it gets stuck in your body. So at least help
Right.
the world by working through your emotions and understanding them in whatever way you can. And if there's something else, you'll find yourself drawn to a past life regression therapist or a hypnotherapist or a spirit releasement therapist who can help you understand the extra additional things that are happening in your energy field. But it's important to note that somebody like me, I'm not a medical specialist, and I'm not a mental health specialist. I haven't trained in those areas. So if you have a mental health issue that is, a medical health issue, I can't help you with that, but I can help you with spiritual issues and the things that are relevant to my field. So check to make sure you're working with the right kind of practitioner, but ultimately take responsibility for your life, help yourself find the root causes, and be open to all the guidance and the signs and the people that are there willing, waiting to help you, because when you help yourself, you help humanity.
I love that. When you help yourself, you help humanity.
Yeah.
And that's the darnest truth right there.
Yeah.
Because it's a domino effect after that, and your energy changes, your energy field and your frequency changes, and that changes those around you.
Exactly. And you give people permission to shine the light on their darkness. If you're open and vulnerable in appropriate moments, then you can say, I went through this. This is how I solved it. And what that does is it gives people permission to be brave as well. It's the permission slip from the universe that they've been looking for.
Absolutely love this. Katisha, I have a question. Going back to past life regression, is there a different? Is one way of can somebody heal more one way? So okay, let me see if I can unravel my own question. So for example, if I do past life regression on myself, where I'm having the imagery and I'm seeing my old body, my old life, and I'm crying, I'm going through things, and I awaken and I have a realization. Okay, well now I know why this. Versus seeing some type of psychic medium that tells me I can see your past life, you experienced this and this and this. Is there a different way to heal somebody telling you what they see versus you actually being in it and seeing it?
Yeah. So it's always more powerful for you to be in it and see it, because you're releasing the emotion. So you might see a sidekick or somebody like that who can say that, but then you have to go and do the work because they're not qualified to do that for you. If you do listen to a past life regression, say on YouTube, and you listen to it, yes, you'll get one element of the detail and you can release emotions. But when you work with a therapist, they know how to talk to your subconscious mind, and they can work you through the emotions, guide you, and ask appropriate questions so that you are not alone, and so that your subconscious mind and your superconscious mind actually releases the limiting beliefs. We can pinpoint it. We can go down to percentage points as to how much are you willing to release, right? And then we work through the tools that we have within that session to say, right, okay, you've released 60% of that limiting belief. Are you ready to release another 20%? Okay, no, not today. No worries. We'll do it in another session, because it's your session and you're doing the healing, but we are the ones who have the skill set and the toolkits, just like you do in your own business, to guide that. And so, yes, I encourage you to do whatever you can, but then when you're ready to do the work with a person that can help you work with your higher self to release the constructs that are holding back your mind. So do all of it as it feels
Right.
appropriate.
You know, it's interesting. So I'm a professor of psychology, and one of the classes I teach is cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's restructuring your thoughts and your negative schemas about yourself. And so I just feel that this obviously takes it into a different level if changing your thoughts and your behaviors don't help you in any way. Perhaps go into it spiritually if they're open to it.
Absolutely, because it's important to do all levels, because CBT and the conscious mind, and again, I'm not a professional like you in that area, is working with your conscious mind, right? And your awareness. You're aware that things aren't right. So what's happened is your superconscious mind, which is the infinite mind, the mind of all times, has told your subconscious mind, which is the mind of this lifetime, hey, let's send he or she a signal that goes, right, I'm ready to be consciously aware of the fact that I'm an angry person and I need to get some CBT therapy, or need to go to learn meditation, or whatever it is, to work on it. But sometimes that's enough. But sometimes you're like, I've done that and I need to go a little deeper. So that's where we go, right? Is it this life? Is it this present lifetime? Let's work with your subconscious mind. Let's bring in some inner wise higher self wisdom. And only then, if it is linked to a past life, your mind will automatically take you to that past life, because it's looking for the root cause based on the
Right.
intention. So I don't see them as silos. I see them as all complementary. And depending upon the lifetime that you're in, depends what level of that you need.
Sure. This is excellent. I have to share with you. I have this past life regression story for myself. This is years ago. I want to say maybe about 3 years ago, where so I'm not a parent. I'm 45 years old, and there, at the time I was maybe 42 or so, and I thought, am I ever going to be a parent? And why do I have a fear of being a parent? And why do I yearn to have a son so bad? I just want a little boy. I just want a boy. And so I decided to do this past life regression on myself through YouTube. I can't remember the link or anything. It was a while ago, but it's stuck in my mind to this day. And so I was in this deep meditative mode, and there was imagery. It took me to this life, and I could see myself physically. I could see my height. Even I had long brown hair. I was lean. I could see my life. I was an architect in New Orleans, building plantations and telling men what to do with the floors. I saw them sanding wood floors, and then it took me to a problematic area of my life. It tells you now you're going home. So I went home, and I saw my wife was cooking. We had a small little like cabin looking place in the woods or swampy area. And I asked her right away, I said, "Where's what his name was, our son's name?" And she said, "Well, he's outside playing." I said, "No, he's not." And so I went outside, and I couldn't find my 2-year-old son. And so I became very angry. And I started having images of my son, myself under the tree with him, holding him. He's playing with my hat. And so all of a sudden, I'm in this state, and I start crying while I'm doing this meditation. I'm bawling, and
Yeah.
I'm angry at my wife. And I yell at her, and I said, Your job is to take care of our son while I'm at work, and he can't be found." And what I found in that life is that they never found him. I don't know if he was kidnapped or he died or he was killed. I don't know, by coyotes. I don't know. But I remember the search theme. They were looking for him for days. They never found him. And so then the meditation led me to, okay, now you're going into a second part of your life, like the second part of this situation. And I saw myself leaving my wife as she's crying. I was angry at her. And so I when I woke up from that bawling, crying, remembering my son, I was like, okay, now I understand. Now I understand why I'm afraid to be a parent. Now I understand why I want a son so bad. I get it. I get it. So I held on to that, and I let it go. And so we can flash forward now to my current girlfriend, who I've been with for almost 2 years. And so she also doesn't have any children. I mean, she's 8 years younger than me. But I mean, she's going to be 38. She can still have children, but we've had this talk. And I just had this feeling all of a sudden. I was like, you know what? I have a feeling that she was my wife in that past life. And so I decided to go back to the same image, and this time without, because I couldn't find the YouTube, meditation. So I decided to do it myself. I went back, I took myself through the steps, and I'm back at that life. And then I asked my subconscious, take me back to what happens after I left my wife. Take me back at the end. So it takes me back at the end. I see myself trying to live again, and I'm very depressed. I'm very upset. I'm very hurt. But I end up going back to her. And I end up going back to her, and we reconciliate, and we had 5 kids after that. And I don't know why number 5 or whatever. And when I woke up, I realized that it is my current girlfriend now. And why we don't have kids right now, I don't know. It could be some type of trauma that we had from losing that child in that past life. And so I shared this story. I've actually never shared it on my podcast out of almost 280 episodes, but I'm sharing this to let people know how real it is to do past life regressions, and how it can definitely shine some light on some of the things that you're going through in this current life. And it's been
Yeah.
really powerful to have done that. It really is. And you know what's interesting, Katish? That now that I have gone back and seen that I went back with my wife in that life and we had more children, I no longer cry. But for 3 years, when I would think about that past life, I would start crying. And I thought to myself, if this is not real, and if that life was not real, why am I so impacted by it that I can think about my son from a life I don't recall in this life and cry hard about it, other than it was real?
Yeah, it's definitely real. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good to release the emotions. And I guess what a past life regression with a therapist does is that you get to understand the limiting beliefs that that situation caused. You
Right.
get to heal them so that if that's what you want to do in this lifetime is have a son, you can have that opportunity. But you also get to get the highest self's perspective on why you experienced that, because it may have been a choice that you made to experience that loss to teach you the importance of children or to help you overcome something that you wanted to learn. So terrible things
I love
happen.
that. So what was the lesson learned in that life?
Yes, yes. So that's what your higher self can tell you is what limiting beliefs did you have? You release them, then you get to hear the perspective. Well, what did your wife of that lifetime experience? What was her perspective on it?
Right.
And why did you two was there an agreement? Did you two need to work through a resolution? For example, in that lifetime, I don't know the situation, but you got back together and you had children. So maybe in another lifetime, you had a child that you lost and you went your own way. And I don't know, maybe you committed suicide. Or
Right.
or you never had the strength to go back and resolve that with your wife. And so you didn't have those 5 children. And in that lifetime, you were like, well, let's try it again. But this time we're going to find that strength to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So what it does is it gives you that perspective to say, I know I experienced this. I have this emotion. Here are all the technical things that my mind is holding on to. But let's also check everybody else's perspective, and let's understand what the learning lesson is. And now, if you want to, and your soul wants to, we can then go to what we call a future life progression, which is either future in this lifetime, like right now as you use Lino, or in another lifetime, and say, now that I've healed this from this past life, let me check to see, does that heal my urge and need to have a son? Or does it open up opportunities for me that were not originally in my energy field, which could be natural birth, or it could be adoption for you, for example, or it could be maybe your soul team can show you the options that are open for you, the timelines that are open. Maybe it's, I'm going to make it up, this is a really wild guess, maybe it's I open and look after orphans, or maybe it's I become a children's book author and I write books for little boys. There are many ways that you can get love from a physical child, and it depends upon what your soul is requesting and desiring. And you have free will in this lifetime, but you've also got your partner there. And so it's what resolving those emotions and working with your superconscious mind does is it then says, there were all these shut doors before me before. Now I have the choice to look at and feel in a future life progression, which says, how many of those doors are now open? Let me have a preview. Okay, which one doesn't feel so good? Yeah, that one's okay, but it leads to things that I don't really like. This one feels, yeah, I could probably do that. This one feels amazing. I want to focus my energy and direction towards this one. And then it opens up for you and you go down that path.
That's really amazing. Oh, Katish, I feel like I could just go on and on and on. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's just really incredible. Just a lot of incredible things to think about, and I'm certain our viewers or watchers or listeners are going to get incredible information here that's going to help them towards their own personal development. So I just wanted to share something that I wrote before, just minutes before recording here with you, and it's called "Close Your Eyes." Close your eyes. For when I close my eyes, energies that surround me embrace the very part of me that looks at you when we stand still, in this very present moment. For when I close my eyes, all that is encompasses and evokes curiosity, all timely in this moment. For all fleeting moments have messages of love within. Take a glimpse of what you can see with your eyes closed.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because some of the things you talked about curiosity, and we're just talking about, yeah, I mean, angels and stuff. So I mean, definitely felt into this and really feel really blessed by your energy. Thank you so much for being on A Little Less Fear podcast. How can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners get a hold of you?
They can head to my website, which is katische.com, and that has all of my relevant links to my socials and my podcast.
Katish.com. You can also check all the information in the show notes. Thank you so much, and such a blessing to know you, and I'm looking forward to staying connected.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
Namaste. Thank you.